uh, imagine a scenario like you are like performing some sort of a pen test, right? This is a box, a Linux server. You are able to land an RCE, right? And this like specific compute image instance happens to have this specific permission, which is set metadata, right? This like specific permission called compute set metadata. Let's see if I can. This is like a victim web host on which like you're able to get an RCE. And once you land on this like specific machine, you perform some sort of a IAM enumeration and you discover this like specific permission, right, attached to a specific service account. Now with this like specific permission we can exploit it, and we can basically like put the entire uh like almost every other instance on that specific GCP project. So uh suppose like we are able to get RCE, we exploit this specific we land an RCE. Let's say we land RCE as we land wow, we land RCE as www data low priv user, right? We land an RCE as this like specific user, and we happen to have this like specific um let's say permission. We happen to have this like specific permission. We land. Okay. Wow. Let me fix this up real quick. We land RC up here. Now like let's suppose we can use this like specific permission to perform a local privilege escalation, but but it's not only limited to like LPE, which is local privilege escalation. We can basically like put almost every other instance on GCP, like on that specific GCP project, right? So let me make this box a lot bit smaller. Alrighty. Now that we abuse this like specific permission, we abuse it. We were able to abuse it. We can abuse it. Um, so how we gonna abuse this, right? So we can follow this like specific blog post. It's basically like us creating uh, an RSA key, right, or SSH key, right? And we will, and if you know like a bit about GCP and their metadata, you will realize that or like if you're able to dump the metadata, you will see there happens to be a specific value or a key, right, called SSH keys, and that happens to store public key of of different user, right? So what you can do is like you can modify the metadata of that specific instance, right? And you can add your very own let's say uh public key, right, and put in the box. Or you can escalate your privilege to a different user, right? It could be a default user or could be some other user. So for example, like in GCP, if you create an instance, right, in GCP you create an instance and it will have, and let's say like you create an instance and you log in through the web console, it will create a user with your own name. So let's say on your GCP, like you have registered a user called Ayush, right? And you create an instance and log in into it through the web console. It will create a local high privileged user into that specific VM, right? Now let's say we happen to have RCE and we can abuse this like specific permission. We can escalate a permission to that specific uh, user. Could be escalate permission to high privileged user. But it's not only like limited to a specific user on that specific instance, right? If we have this permission, we can abuse this to like add our own user on almost every other instance on GCP, right? Which is quite bad in my opinion. So these are like some classic examples where I probably shouldn't be using this word, but yeah, I won't use it. But it's a classic example how you mess up with your security, right? In GCP, like if you're gonna perform any sort of a pen test or any sort of a security work, you have to remember, like if you see a default service account, that's like a literally a gold mine because it comes with a permission called editor, an editor can do anything on a project or on GCP, right? So, so yeah, like in GCP, default service account almost every other time, if people love, right? Or unnecessary or excessive permission like this one can mess up a lot with your security, right? So as an attacker, we can not only abuse this like specific permission to escalate a permission to a high privileged user, we can also escalate our permission to any we can escalate or move laterally within or vertically within GCP environment, right? And we can pull any other instance on GCP project, can pull any other project or can pull any other instance on GCP project. By the way, now this whole thing opens a whole new wall of like different attacks which we can perform, right? So let's say like we happen to have again, like I'm talking a lot of theory right now, but I promise like on future stream I will be doing all sort of CLI stuff, right? But I believe we need to get into the whole hacker mindset or whole mindset of how we gonna hack cloud, right? Or GCP, right? So as an attacker we can think about a lot of stuff, right? So let's say like we abuse this permission, we like were able to escalate a permission on our own VM. We also abuse this like permission to add ourselves into a different instance, right? And let's assume like this like specific instance happens to have a different service account with different service roles, right? So you see like we are like opening a lot of door for us, right? So let's say like if this like specific instance happens to have a different service account, right? We can make request to we can make request to like metadata server, and we can print the OAuth token, or in some cases we can find ADC. I think we say ADC, or a database which contains the credential for GCP, right? GCP service account. So let me type it up here. uh contains let's say contains second second contains a different service account. I can't even type. Contains different service account. Cool, right? um Contains different service account, could have a different permission. We can again abuse this like specific permission and do all sorts of stuff, right? So this is like one way like how you can perform all sort of a hacking work or all sort of a security work. Again, like let's say again another